Hello, this is the first video for the green spelling book for Words Their Way, and this is a review lesson of looking at vowel patterns. Just so you know how this is set up, if I was teaching the lesson, I would be sitting on that side of the table, but as I have no students today, I'm sitting on the student side. So you are seeing the lesson from the student's point of view. And the students have their piles of letters. Right now I'm pretending I have two students. That's one student's pile, and here's the other student's pile. So imagine that I have called two students to the mat, and it can be a table mat or floor mat, and we're talking about vowel patterns. So I would first lay out these four, and I would put them in this order, because this is probably the order that they would have learned them. And I would say, what do you think these letters V and VC and VCE, what do they stand for? And hopefully they would say, oh, the V is the vowel, the C is the consonant, and E over here, that's for silent E or magic E, whatever word you use for that. I would say, yeah, so what we're looking at here today is we're looking at what comes after the vowel. We don't really need to pay attention to what happens before the vowel in these words. We're looking for patterns after the vowel. So look at your words, and I would ask them first, does anybody have any bold words? And let's have this child put up, oh, I have this one. And I would say, okay, what's the vowel in that word? And they would tell me that it was an A. And I would say, what comes after the vowel? And they would say P. And I would say, is that a consonant? And they would say yes. And then I would say, how many consonants are after the vowel? They would say one. And I'd say, okay, let's put it in the column with one after the vowel. That's our sample word for that one. So you can compare your words to that. Does yours look like that? Find the vowel and look at what comes after. And then someone else might say, oh, I have this word in bold. And I would say, what is the vowel? And they would say E. And I would say, what comes after the vowel? And they would say LL. And I'd say, are those vowels or consonants? And they would say it's a consonant. So then we would say, oh, there's two consonants after the vowel. And we would go through that process with the other words as well. And where's my other bold word? Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's the other two bold words. Let's talk about that. What do we see? Oh, here we see two vowels together. And here we see a silent E. So that's our sample. And then I would get the kids to take turns putting up a letter. And here's where you really need to focus on who's doing what. If you have a group of 4 or 5, you may see that one person only goes when they see the same pattern as someone who has already gone. That is your less confident learner, and they may not feel as secure in the knowledge. So you want to really pay attention to what they're doing, because they're the ones who are going to need the most help. And so I'm going to carry on sorting all the words, and this person is going to say, when. There's one consonant after the vowel, and this person is going to say trust, and you're always getting them to read the word. There's two after that. I always want them to tell me why they put the word there. There's one consonant after the vowel. Here's another one with one consonant after the vowel. And then I'm going to see this word, and they're going to try and tell me that it should go there. And I would say, yes, when you look at it visually, there are definitely two vowels there. But what do we know about the letter Q? We know that it always has a U. It's got that little hook at the bottom. It says attach the U to the Q. And so we're going to treat QU as if it was one letter, and it's a consonant because it says Qu. So let's put it over here, and you'll see why in a minute why we do that. So then they're going to carry on, and they're going to sort all their words, and each time they're going to tell me, I hope I do this right because I'm doing it in a hurry. Each time they're going to tell me why they're putting it there, what are the vowels, what do they see, and where does each word go. And hopefully I'm going to do this correctly when I'm doing it in a big hurry, but you can see how they say each word each time, brief, grown, and here we have, this interesting one. Definitely looks like it goes there. And then we've got this other QU word. So we said last time, we're going to count that as one. So there's only OTE. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, because it could go here by the two vowels, but we're going to count QU as one unit. And so there we go. Now we've got them all done, and we're going to just go through each column. So let's read this. And I want you to pay attention when you read this, and the group is going to read all together. I want you to pay attention to what sound the vowel is making. Wrap, when, clog, twig, quit, plot. Are we saying the vowel name, or are we saying its short sound? And there's a whole story that goes behind what is the short sound. But for today, let's just look at that. And if they can't hear it, have them start putting the similar vowels together so they can read them in pairs. So let's try twig and quit. Does the I sound the same in those two? Or clog and plot? Does the O sound the same? Eventually they'll get the idea that these are all short vowel words, and we're going to review that means it's a closed syllable. The vowel is tucked in here with one or more consonants protecting it. That's a closed syllable word. And then I would say, is there anyone who doesn't know what any of those words mean? Or is there anything interesting about them? And someone might say, wow, this one has a W, and we don't say that sound. We don't say wrap, wrap. I can't even say it. So we'll notice silent W. We can explore that later. Let's try this one. Smell, trust, sharp, thank, front, and climb. What do we notice here? We have some different sounds like R. The A isn't really saying its sound. Ank sounds right. Oh, that's interesting. Smell, that's, oh, yes. And notice there that the two letters are the same. And this might be a really good time to review the Buzz Off Miss Pill spelling lesson that they would have learned earlier. That's why smell has two L's and spell has two L's. Trust, sharp, thank, front, and climb. Well, right away we notice there's a silent letter in climb. And we notice that this I is saying I, but all the rest are saying something that's pretty much their short vowel sound, with the possible exception of this one, which has an R sound because it's an R influenced. So we've got two sort of outliers here. But most of them say their short sound. And then my question is, this one has an odd spelling, so we might call that an outlier. The O sounds like a U, front, and that might be a dialectic thing for us. So front, sharp, and climb we've kind of separated to talk about in a little more detail, but we still see the same pattern here as here. And again, those are closed syllables. So now we have words that have two vowels together. And it's really interesting to pay attention to which one gets to say their name when we have a vowel team. So vowel team is two vowels together. Vowel team. That's the hand signal. So we have chief. What do we hear? We hear the E. Fruit. What do we hear? We hear the U. Scout. Ooh, interesting. Ow. We kind of hear both. Stain. Brief. Oh, so brief and chief. We could put those together as ones that we notice have a similar sound. Scout, groan, stain. So we can see here that the vowel sound is going to change, and it's going to say the name of one of the vowels or a combination, as in scout, where we hear both. And those are vowel team words. And I always symbolize that with two V's side by side. That means it's a vowel team. So we've got closed syllable, vowel team, and some that follow this pattern, except climb, but are influenced by something else. And here we have our silent E or magic E or whatever words you're going to use. And here we have wine, brave, phone, scale, theme, and quote. And those ones are all acting pretty much the way they should. The E is telling the first vowel to say its name in the word. And the only thing the kids might be interested in, again, is, oh, here's a WH word. We think of those as the question words, who, what, when, where, why. And of course, we've already talked a little bit about this. So this IMB is an exception. AR, if they've never seen R influenced vowels, that might appear to be an exception for them. And front is a word they may not have learned how to spell, or they may know how to spell, but they are noticing that the sound is a little bit different. So you want them to go and sort, and we're thinking about patterns, so these would still go here, but we would put a star on this one to say this one follows this pattern, but it doesn't sound the way it should. It sounds like a long I, and I would have them mark it with a macron, which is a line over the I, to say this one is saying its long sound. And all the other ones in here would get a brev, which is that little cup-shaped thing, to say that they're making their short sound. And when they're doing these ones, I would say, which one do you hear? Put the little macron over it. Do we hear the O or the A? And groan. I want them to show that they can hear what they're seeing and what they're hearing are the same thing. Okay, and we'll review again. Is there any words here you don't know? Somebody says they don't know what wine is, and I'll say, what? You don't know what wine is? That's me whining. So there's an example of a lesson. And then they go away with their paper, cut all the words apart, and resort it, talk to each other, check that they've got it, and then record it in their book. Thank you.